Good afternoon, all. This is another video in a series that I've made documenting my hydraulic lifter failure on my FE engine here, which belongs to my project FEARJESTYK, which I've made some previous videos on. But this video here is going to go in a little bit of detail about the engine itself. I was I've actually said in a few that I would go and explain exactly what this engine is. This engine right now, it started out as a 360, the original engine that was in this truck. And after some decisions and talking, decided to build it into a stroker. My builder convinced me to build a stroker engine. So that's what I did. So what we did was, took the original 360 engine here and took it and bored the block 30 oval, and went and installed a Eagle Eagle rotating assembly, which was a steel crank. The kit also came with 10-to-1 pistons, flat tops, and with I-beam construction connecting rods, and the main bearings came with that. And the oil pump that was installed was a Mellings 57 high pressure pump, which in turn has the Canton 7-quart oil pan was used with this build, and from there used the Edelbrock medium rise aluminum heads. They're not bolt on out of the box because my builder, as he said, within the last 7 or 8 years, he's had issues with these heads with not being flat and the valve springs setups not being correct. So he completely disassembled them and reworked them. And the cam that was originally used was a Comp 268 530 lift cam, which that's the original setup that I had the problem with the one lifter being wiped out, which from when I looked at the bottom of the lifter, the way it was concave and wiped out, I saw a video not too long ago. Very knowledgeable man. He was Uncle Tony's Garage, which showed a fellow YouTuber that but his big block Chevy, he had a lifter failure during break-in, and he was able to catch it just before the final disintegration of the bottom of the lifter itself. And what Uncle Tony had figured out was the way the wear was starting, that the lifter stopped rotating in its bore, and in turn the lobe just wiped the bottom of the lifter out, which looked exactly like mine. So I'm believing that that's what's going on with most of these lifter failures, is that the that the lifters themselves are not rotating in the bore, which in turn, I'm not a machinist here, so I can't fully explain how they're milled at the very bottom, which facilitates them to rotate within the bore. I know that the lifter doesn't ride direct center on the cam lobe; it's off center a little bit, which facilitates the rotation in accordance with the way that it's milled on the bottom of the tappet's milled. But anyways, I digress about that. But that's what I believe happened with mine, that I wasn't getting rotation because of the wear that was going on, which looked identical to the big block Chevy, one that Uncle Tony highlighted on his page, on his channel, which he posted a video just a few weeks back. But anyhow, so going with hydraulics roller setup this time. Hydraulic roller, yeah, I guess it would be. So ended up using Morel roller lifters. Went with another comp cam, but it was a 299 Thumper series with the 589 lift. The builder said he was going to add a little more oomph to it, which I imagine this thing will now have. And yeah, those Edelbrock heads are the 60069s, and intake is that 7105 medium Performer RPM intake, and ended up using a Holley 800 CFM dual feed mechanical secondary, and the distributor, which I know you Ford guys will chastise me for, but it is a Davis Unified unit, which is the General Motors style coil under the cap, which I liked because I was able to set that to the parameters of the engine, which that's what I really like. They don't pull them right off the shelf. Those are built one-offs, and they took all the information, you know, the carb size, cam size, displacement of the engine, rear end differential gears, what the gear ratio was, and the weight of the vehicle, and they curved and set the cam, the distributor for those, that criteria. It's a bike I haven't heard before. Somebody must have just finished building that one. Anyhow, so now that with all of those improvements and upgrades, this engine is now a 432. So that is, oh yeah, and as far as the exhaust I used the Sanderson 427 Campus Special CS's, because of they're the block the one ceramic coated, and I had to use the Campus Special ones because of the oil pan that I used with the Boss right there where it comes out. So I exchanged the original driver's side one that I had for the Campus Special one, and it actually cleared. The Boss that comes out for the dipstick, and you see, yeah, that's got the brass contacts, which I'm a big fan of. I don't like that bimetal stuff that some of these caps use, but that's just my personal preference. And used a Champion 3-core radiator. I actually bought the shroud that that they make for these. It was through Dennis Carpenter, and I used a factory style mechanical fuel pump here, which actually is a Carter pump that delivers 6 psi of fuel pressure, unlike the original one, which is like 3.5 to 4. So this one gave me the stock look with a little extra oomph. And yeah, there's my oil pressure line, obviously. But anyhow, so that's basically what's going on here with this engine. And yeah, it had to be disassembled again because of I had a failure of the one of the Morel lifters, and so builder came today and disassembled it, and this is where it is at right now as far as reassembly. He's waiting for the RTV to set up, because he's a big fan of using the RTV here at where the block and the intake meet. He doesn't use the cork gaskets, because what he's found out, when you do build these engines up, it increases the crankcase pressure, and in turn that's what blows a lot of those gaskets out, from his experience. I can't speak for anybody else's experience, but that's what he does, and he uses the RTV quite extensively as far as on intakes for the FEs. So he doesn't rely on the cork. And I know that the intake gaskets, he said he just discovered recently a different style, which actually I don't. Oh, the number's not on it. Oh, where's the pack? Oh, the paper's gone. But they're Fel Pro Performance. They had the number on it, but they're steel reinforced in between the two. Excuse me, the two materials there. And he said he's trying them out. So those, he was very happy with those. Yeah, see, he doesn't even use the cork. He just leaves it aside and uses strictly RTV. And I actually went with a carb spacer, phenolic spacer, because when I had put this engine together and was running my fuel lines and stuff, which I'm not very happy with that, but that's what I had to do because I have 5/16 fuel line. I tried changing it to 3/8, but I couldn't find an adapter to go from my stock pump, because if I went with an aftermarket one, I could have got one with a 3/8 outlet. But because this one is modeled after the factory one, the outlet is 5/16, and I could not find any adapter to go from there to 3/8, so I could put a full 3/8 line to attach to my dual feed line. So I put a fitting on there with the 3/8, and I used the hose, and I'm like, I don't like the look of that, but right now it's working. But the reason I went with the spacer is because my bypass line, I had not running the heater, so anyways, I wanted the space underneath to keep it away from my fuel line, because before the fuel line was resting right on it, and I'm like, oh, you know what, that's going to be a problem, vapor lock. So a friend of mine was over here, a legend builder here in my town, said, oh, just put a spacer under it, you'll get the spot. I'm like, duh. So went and bought the spacer, and gave me some air space underneath there. So what I'll do later is I will insulate that part of the fuel line. I think I'll end up using some of the header tape. I have some left over that a friend of mine gave me, and I'll try to get some low profile clamps to be able to wrap that without having because I don't like the look of the clamp. Obviously, doesn't look clean. So I want to clean that up. Yeah, when he put the line, when he put that back together, you see he didn't line the clamps up like I like to. So when he took this off, the builder, just little details that bother me when somebody puts something back together. But I can't complain. I'll just go back and take my OCD and tweak everything and fix everything. As with my choke cable, I gotta make a stanchion so that doesn't hit my coil there. But anyhow, that is the story of my 432 here, which is powering my 68 F100, which I can't wait to get back on the road. So, but there we go. So I will, hopefully the next video I have is with this thing, with its second startup after this Morel Tappet hydraulic roller failure here. Anyhow, oh yeah, that's right, before I forget, the push rods were changed too to a ball on both ends, so they had to be custom made, which they were made out of 80 thousandths thickness material. And the adjusters had to be changed too, because I believe from 3/8 to 7/16 to be able to accommodate the ball tip on there. So those were all custom made too. So anyhow, there we go. Oh yeah, the numbers on the stanchions there. Yeah, I couldn't get the exact manufacturer of these, but he orders those through a vendor of his. So I don't know exactly who makes them. It was kind of like a no name on it. but I'm sure it is somebody recognizes those who makes them. Well, there we go. The story of the 432. Well, I'm gonna go in and finish off the rest of my day here. So have a good day, y'all, and thanks for listening.